The challenges facing our teens today mean that more than ever, we need to be there to support them and encourage them. The Dr. STEM Show is here to provide discussions about topics that will help promote healthy relationships, self-image, and success for teens, parents, and the community. Our young people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. The Dr. STEM Show, hosted by Dr. STEM Malatini, will foster these discussions and encourage your participation.
Welcome to the second segment of my interview with Ms. Beth Kontos. That's how exciting my first segment was that I decided, you know what? Let me keep you and let's do a second segment where we're going to talk about everything and anything. Because one, I've realized that not only does she have a wealth of information and advice for new teachers out there on how she's been able to survive as a teacher in high school with, students that are very challenging sometimes, but also very intelligent and knowledgeable, that she's been able to see them graduate and can share one or two things with the new teachers out there and some teachers that have been in the profession for a while. Also, one of the things that we're going to be talking about is, politics in this area. How does that play into the school system and the kids that are getting to be 18? What does voting mean for you, and what kind of candidates do you want to vote for? Things like that we never get to talk about is what we're going to be talking about. So, hey, welcome back. Welcome back. At the break, we were talking about, advice for teachers. And you shared a story that I said, you know what, hold on to that story. Let's talk about that.
And it's a little bit of a hard story to tell because it's very personal. But there was this one class, I was only teaching for a couple of years, and there was a young man that was pushing my buttons. You know how sometimes.
Oh, boy. Yes.
And he was a class clown. Yes. He had a good heart. But maybe this day I was tired, I don't know. I couldn't take it anymore. And I was sharp with him. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it wasn't nice. And it's even hard to talk about because I don't like to think that I crushed a child. Yes. He was not a child. He was 17. But, so I went home that night and I did not sleep. I felt terrible. And I knew that I had to restore my relationship with him because he was a very nice young man. And I really needed to make sure we publicly reconnected. Yes. So at the beginning of the next class, I introduced to the students what we were going to work on. And I said, before we start, I have to say an apology. Yeah. So I apologized for speaking sharply to him in front of people too, And he said, Ms. Kontos, I don't even remember what you said to me, but I'll always remember this, because a teacher had never apologized to him before. Yeah. And he said no other adult had ever apologized to him, which I think is not good, because I'm sure somebody had crossed him, inappropriately in the past.
Many a time.
And I think it's really important as adults to make sure we reach out to young people and show them how to restore a relationship, how to say I'm sorry, even though maybe I'm older and the boss for now, I still can make mistakes. And I've tried to continue that if I'm having a bad day, to stop the class, apologize maybe for whatever mood, And it also allows the students to consider that restorative justice if they're having a bad day and they take a time out for themselves. When they come back into the class, whether it be that day or the next day, we can reconnect and they know I've put it aside. Yes. And hopefully they have put it aside too, and we start fresh. Yes. And sometimes with one particular student, you may have to do it every single day, because children have challenges. Yes. And I don't think our group of high schoolers are any different than high schoolers around the country, or any different than the past 200 years of high schoolers. Adolescence is difficult. There are physical changes, there are intellectual changes, and they do it at different times. Yes. Some young men take until they're 25 to mature. And some young girls are fully mature mentally, physically at 16.
You're right. You're right.
You know, and so that the differences in the classroom need to be taken into account by teachers. And so that's another way that to show you how difficult the job can be at times.
Yes. You remind me of that saying that says, practice what you preach.
Right.
Because most of the time, if it was that kid that had, you know, screamed, you know, and said something that was probably hurtful or inappropriate to the teacher,
Sure.
everyone would have been on him, referrals, you need to go and apologize.
Right,
and
right.
So I commend you for, you know, taking that time to also live by example and apologize, because not many people do that. And the other thing that I always remind teachers when I do stress management trainings or I come in and speak to the teachers is you have to teach from the heart. These kids can see you a mile before you get into your classroom. They can read, right?
Yeah.
They can read your body, you know, I mean, the way that you're walking into the classroom, your affect, your face, your voice, I mean, they can detect that something is not right.
Right. And you know, we're human beings.
Yes.
And we have families. And we may have elderly parents or young children. And we bring that burden sometimes with us when we're concerned about our home. Our home life. And then we come to school and it's almost like being a performer where you have to put that aside so that you can meet the needs of what's in front of you.
Yes.
But we are humans, and sometimes it's difficult to do that.
You're right.
And so on the high school level, if we have these conversations with our students, they are people, and they are starting to understand these interpersonal relationships. And I think if all of us do this, we'll help them become more communicative adults. They'll have better relationships, boy-girl relationships. You know, someday they'll have spouses and they're going to need to forgive each other and move on. And children, we need to forgive our children for sometimes being less than perfect, you know, because we're humans.
You're right. I always say to, you know, from a therapist's point of view, because then, you know, I've been in the school, as you know, as a support for the teachers as well as the kids. And one of the things that I always tell the kids is almost like find a way to say, Miss Kontos, today's not a good day. Because you woke up in the morning and mama or papa or grandma screamed at you or there was nothing there, and then you come to school, your attitude already says, don't mess with me, don't. So it's almost like you're stepping on a snake without knowing that you're stepping on a head, and all of a sudden, you know, you say something, and it's like, okay, what happened? I said, find a way when you do that to say, ma'am, because she's got 30 people or 20 people in that classroom, and here you're walking in with that attitude, but she's thinking she's teaching the same person she had yesterday. Mark, please be quiet. I'm about to start class. What do you mean? Everybody else is talking. And what?
That's right.
So then all of a sudden it's like, what happened to you?
I know.
You're the first person that I always go to, and it's okay. I feel safe coming to you and saying, please be quiet, because the rest of the class becomes quiet. You see how, so the teachers are not thinking that, you know, I'm picking on you. They're thinking, if I tell Mark, and
because I rely on you.
I rely on you.
I trust you.
I trust you, and I know that you are a leader in this class. So if you be quiet and you sit down, you're the class clown. So you think, but no, you're the leader, because everybody follows you and laughs at you and with you and at you. But that's sometimes what they're doing. So please bear with them. And be quiet or go to them or say something. Miss Kontos, not today. And at that point, I'm also asking the teachers to say, you know what, if a kid says that, it's not about you, but it's saying, you know what, we're not going to fight or prolong this. Hear me out. I'm not in the mood.
Don't poke the bear. Let them have their space.
Because something happened that is beyond you for that day. Or that is happening. And that's when we get called, you know, do you want to talk to Dr. Ma'am? Yep. And they come in and they sit down and I go, what happened?
And it's not about my class. It's something that happened last night or before they came to school. My first year teaching, I was at Link Classical High School. And I walked in my first day having no experience. And fortunately, I was a mother of the same age group. So I at least knew how to handle children of this age. But I really, it was a classroom of faces. I didn't know one person. So I immediately, there was a little bit of a tough girl speaking out in the class, and I love her now. And I thought, all right, if I can make friends with her,
Yes.
the rest is going to be easy because she'll be my ally.
Yeah.
So she was the first person that I gave a job to, and I made it her job every day. She took attendance, and if someone was fresh, she told them to sit down and not be fresh. And so I thought, okay, I have my first ally, and sometimes you have to make that ally, and you have to look at the kid who society might judge as the fresh one, but really what they are is the leader.
Yeah, they are.
They might not know how to be a leader
Yes.
yet, and they have the skills, and you just need to point them in the right direction.
You're right.
And there were a few students, especially some boys at age 17, are 6'4", and they stand up, and I'm 5'6", and I'm talking like this, and but you get them when you smile, when you let them know that you care about them, and that's the number one thing that I think a good teacher brings to the classroom.
You're right. You know what? I'm going to stop you for a minute. We're talking about how to reach the students that you teach, which is actually a book that I co-wrote. I co-authored a book, How to Reach the Students That You Teach, with Dr. John Loveblack, and that's what we're discussing here, and you're hearing from a teacher who has 11 years of experience, right?
Right.
Ms. Beth Kontos. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
As a youth motivational speaker, author, and coach, Dr. Stem understands that in a world where today's youth and parents are jaded and disappointed by institutions and people they perceive as out of touch with the reality of their lives, motivation is a dose that is much needed. It's time to excel. Dr. Stem Malatini is a refreshing change from the typical speaker. Dr. Stem understands the pressures, heartaches, temptations, hopes, and dreams of the generation that is just now coming of age. Students listen in transfixed silence as she speaks with the clarity and confidence of someone who has worked with teens, parents, and teachers for over 20 years. Her high-energy school assembly programs create a defining moment for schools and provide an experience students never forget. To reserve your seat in one of her coaching sessions, purchase her books, or to book her services, email her at drstemmmalatini@gmail.com or go to her website at www.drstem.org.
Welcome back. Before we went on break, Ms. Kontos had just mentioned that the students want to know whether the teachers really care about them as a person before they can care about the grade that they get in that class, or how they get the information that they're teaching. They want to know, do you really care for them? So I wanted to just thank you for mentioning that, because we talked about that point a lot in our book, Reaching the Students That You Teach. I know in our first segment, I think that's when we discussed it, you had said that one of your favorite classes is street law.
I love this class because I can do almost anything I want with it, because the foundation is set up on our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and there's a lot of legal language to understand, some contract, but then we pull in current events. And we pull in politics, and I try to show the students how much power an individual person really does have in the United States. But first of all, they have to register to vote. And they have to educate themselves on the issues and find out what's important to them. Because it might not be the same thing that's important to you and me. We're all individuals. And so whatever it is that they're interested in, we try to pursue it. I find that justice is really key in the mind of teenagers. And I think part of that is maybe they feel that they are not treated as fairly, and they're looked at as children. So justice comes in there. They want to be treated fairly for their knowledge and what they can do in life. And they want us to have faith in them. And I think that's extremely important. And so I teach them about voting. I teach them about how Congress works, how the president works, and even more importantly, how politics works locally. And so that there are ways they can be involved, more than even just voting. But working on campaigns, protesting, writing letters to our congresspeople. We have Seth Moulton right here in Salem.
Okay.
And we have Paul Tucker and Joan Lovely. All three of them are very involved in and receptive to what individuals write to them.
Okay.
So we email them, we write letters to them, we even text them when something's important to us.
Oh.
So they know what issues are important to the students.
Okay.
So, and speaking of justice,
Yes.
we spend a lot of time talking about what's going on in the news now.
Yes.
With young
That's gotta-
people.
yeah.
And I sometimes hear from people that don't understand the whole injustice of locking people up for things that are not violent, and or killing people for things that are not violent. Even if someone is caught shoplifting or robbing or being
selling.
foolish or just foolishness, there's
Yeah.
not a death sentence attached to being foolish. And there is a way. We are not individually the judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
There is a process. And I do understand that our public servants are under a lot of pressure,
Yes.
just as teachers are.
Yes.
And they need the support. The police officers need the support. They need counseling if they need it. They need sensitivity training.
Trainings, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of trainings. You could probably get into some of that.
That's true. And I used to do
Sure.
that with the law enforcement in Florida.
Right.
So, yeah.
And
right.
understanding
Yes.
that our young people are not our enemies,
Yes.
and that we need to work together.
Yes.
And have, I don't know, some kind of a program where we know each other and then we're not afraid of each other.
You're right. You're
You
right.
know?
You're right. You know, talking about that, I live in Peabody.
Right.
So I've been there for 5 years, but I recently bought a house in there. So what I did was I just enrolled myself, my mother, and one of my sisters that has a business in Peabody as well. We're going through the Peabody Police Academy.
Oh, it's
Citizens
fun
Academy.
to do things like that.
I
Salem
can't
has an
wait.
academy like that.
I was going to ask if Salem
Yes.
has it. So what
Yes.
I'll do is, because I also have a business in Salem, I'm going to attend the one for Peabody first, and then I'm going to enroll in the one in Salem. But when I do the one in Salem, I want to have at least 5 to 10 teenagers that will
Oh,
get into
you
the class
should.
with me, because then this is how they get to learn about law enforcement, but then to
Right.
interact and connect with law enforcement.
Well, that's a good point, because a lot
Yes.
of people that take the street law class are interested themselves in either being a lawyer, being a police officer,
Yes.
maybe a probation officer,
Yeah.
something in the courts.
Yeah.
And they get a real insight as to, because we look at this. We visit police stations. The Salem Police Department sometimes comes to the high school and
Yes.
talks about drug crimes
Yes.
or enforcement or forensics. We team up with one of the teachers who also teaches forensics, and they come and talk to both the classes. It's a good insight for the students. We also visit the Middleton Jail and have a tour, and we are spoken to by an inmate or two
Yeah.
who has done some restorative work. And it always comes down to drug and alcohol abuse that gets somebody into incarceration.
Yes.
And because if you're high and you need money for more drugs, you might break into a house.
Yeah.
Okay? And that gets you in jail.
Yes.
So they need to deal with, it's not that that person was a thief to start with, but they were a drug addict.
Exactly.
And we need to work on restoring the physical and mental health of that person so that we can re-enter them into society with a trade.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trade school. There's diploma. They can get their high school diploma.
Yeah.
They are encouraged to attend
Yes.
community college when they're out,
Yeah.
and to continue with either AA or NA programs so that they can stay sober.
Yeah.
That's extremely important.
I know, thank you for that. I know you've been involved in, we're talking about also how the young adults can get involved, the teenagers, young adults can get involved in the community in changing and making the community an environment that, they thrive in.
Sure.
Really.
Right.
So then there's a candidate or candidates that you work with around with, because then we want to give them some names that they can contact and start to work with.
Yeah.
Well,
in my classroom, when we're talking about politics, I talk about everybody who's running.
Yes.
And I really believe the students are smart enough to make up their own mind based on their lives, on what candidate they want to support.
Yes.
And once a candidate is elected, I think that they represent us, and it is our duty to make sure they know what we want.
Yes.
Okay? But personally, I do like Bernie Sanders for president. And I am on the North Shore Committee. It meets here in Salem once a week, and trying to get information out about him. And I'll tell you why I like him.
Yes.
He believes not in the power of the millionaire corporations making decisions for us as individuals, but for each of us to be involved in our own lives. And having direct input into how our communities are run.
Yes.
And that's why I like him.
Yeah.
I like him. He's a real person who believes that if you're not super wealthy, you still should have the cancer treatment you need.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you should have a decent place to live.
Yeah.
If you need something to become a better citizen, it benefits us all.
Yeah.
That the hungry child is fed.
You're right.
And that there are English language lessons for the parents so that they can encourage the children with their homework.
Boy, you have it all well versed on what
Right?
it stands for, right?
This is important.
Yes. Guess what? So what we're doing is also just talking in general about the things that matter, that maybe, our young ones are not getting involved in, but their voice really matters and it makes a difference. We're talking to Beth Kontos, and we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back.
How much difficulty do you have getting your employees or your customers to listen to the solutions you can offer? This may be one of the great frustrations in business. It's time to excel. Dr. STEM now offers solutions with her Soft Skills Leadership Training Program and the Women's Executive Leadership Training Program. To reserve your seat in one of her coaching sessions, purchase her books, or to book her services, email her at drstemmalattini@gmail.com. or go to her website at www.drstem.org.
This is the part that I always drag to have that last segment when they say the last segment. But Miss Beth, I know it's just like, I just have so many questions, and it's just been smooth talking to you and understanding the whole aspect of being in a high school, being a new teacher, students getting the respect and the teachers getting the respect. So it's really been enlightening, and I hope those that are watching it will find it that way as well.
Hope so.
We spoke about Salem High School now becoming a community high school. What does that mean?
Well, having a community school can be at any level, and it is where services are brought to the school instead of students and their parents having to find the services. Okay, so it makes it one-stop shopping. You come to school, but you might also go see a nurse practitioner while you're there. And you have an appointment, and you need your yearly physical so you can play sports, or you need medical referral, something like that. We have that at Salem High School, and our students can take advantage of that. And it is very convenient. They are young adults, and there are needs that they have, and maybe they don't want to talk to their parents about all the decisions they're making, but they do have medical people they can talk to that will help guide them. We have social workers, we have counselors, things like that. And now that we're bringing in clothing, that's important. Eventually some food. Of course we have breakfast and lunch too, so that everybody is taken care of all day long as far as their physical needs. Another thing we do at Salem High School, and it's been there the whole time I've been in Salem High School, is we have an on-site daycare. And when I first came to Salem High School, I scratched my head a little bit because I was afraid that I was totally ignorant.
Yeah.
I was afraid that an on-site daycare would encourage people to have babies when they weren't ready.
We all thought that.
Right. And yet, what I've learned is that they're going to have their babies whether we have a daycare or not. Right?
That's true.
Right. Yeah. And so the best thing to do is to offer support so that they learn to be good parents and they have the services they need for the sake of that child also. And who is it that doesn't finish high school when we know there's a boy and a girl involved with the baby, right? Creating the baby. And the boy goes on with his life many times. And he may even have a new partner in the future and go to the prom while the girl is pregnant or taking care of the baby. And many times this young woman does not finish high school unless they have the support of a daycare so they can get to school every day. And they can visit the child at lunch. They can take a teen parenting course. And the boys are invited to also have teen parenting courses. They can earn credits for the knowledge that they learn in these classes. And our girls are then graduating and going on to college, which is what we want. Because statistics show that a mother with higher education does a better job getting their child ready for their own education.
That's true.
It makes sense
that's
because that child is going. That young adult is going to read to the child. That child is going to grow up seeing their mother go to college, and they're going to understand the importance of education. And they will emulate that in their own life. We see the statistics prove that out. So this year, this fall, is the first year that the daycare will run without a student baby in it. Because this daycare is open to the employees of Salem Public Schools.
Talking about hobbies so that we can get to really know you. Look at you. What is Miss Kontos' hobbies?
Okay.
Who are you?
Well, a couple of years ago, I started running. Believe it or not. I do a lot of running. I try to run about 25 miles a week. Right. I've done several half marathons. I run with a bunch of friends that are really, really good friends. And we stick together and help each other through hard times. And that's great. And it's not just the run. Sometimes it's the coffee afterwards, you know, that you fix all your problems. But I'm very involved in both my children's lives. We have wonderful relationships. We visit. I like their friends. You know, they're young adults. They're 22 and 25. But I have chickens. I have 14 chickens. 2 of them are little babies. And last year we built the coop. I've had them before. I've had goats before. I should have been a farmer.
I think so.
And I grow hydroponics vegetables in the wintertime inside my house. Outside I have 3 huge gardens and I grow a lot of the food that I feed my chickens and my family. So we have a lot of fun.
I see.
It's work, but it's fun. I like it.
You can never say you don't know who Miss Beth Kontos is. So
you heard it all.
I urge you. If you get to visit Salem High School, whether your student, your teacher is her student or not, she's now representing all the teachers in the Salem, Massachusetts area. She's the new president, so I urge you to go and visit her, email her, or go to the town meetings. She's going to be at the board meetings, school board meetings every month when they hold them.
That's right.
Go and say hi. I saw you on TV, and congratulations. Thank you, and congratulations once again.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Bye.
And thank you for watching the Dr. STEM Show.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. STEM Show. Have a terrific week.